I'd like to call to order the Plan Commission meeting for May 6th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attendance roll call.
Commissioner Groff.
Here.
Commissioner Kubaki.
Here.
Alderman Madden.
Here.
Commissioner Cieslak.
Here.
Commissioner Buckmaster is not here. Commissioner Bartlett is not here. Mayor Petfelski.
Here.
Planner Chesbitowski.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Statement of public notice.
The agenda was posted and distributed to all news media requesting notification in accordance with the open meeting laws on Friday, May 2nd.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from the April 2nd meeting.
Move to approve. I'll second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Public hearing. Public hearing for a conditional use grant in accordance with the Muskego zoning ordinance for the purpose of allowing veterinary services within their recently approved retail store to be located on the vacant property between Aurora Health and Dollar Tree, tax key number 2167.995.128. Before I open this, Adam, what do you think?
Thank you, Mayor. So one of the things that was brought up originally when Tractor Supply was proposed, it was mentioned to them that if they were going to offer any kind of veterinary services, that they would need to have a conditional use grant. And at that original time, they didn't seem to indicate that they thought they were going to have anything. But the store and their representatives more so have reached out to us since that time and advised that they are going to hold some kind of I think they were from clinics, like pop-up clinics. So it won't be that there's going to be a full-time veterinarian in their store. But they do want to offer different vaccine clinics and different things like that they do in a lot of the other stores in other areas. So they're asking for this conditional use grant as that's required anytime there is a veterinary service offered as part of a business.
All right. Anyone from the public that wishes to be heard on this matter, please step forward, give your name and address, and speak your piece. Going once, twice. Declare this public hearing closed. Moving on to consent business, Resolution PC 022-2025, approval of a certified survey map for Tractor Supply located on vacant land between Aurora Health and Dollar Tree, tax key number 2167.995.128, and Resolution PC 024-2025, approval of the sale of fireworks for Freedom Fireworks LLC at the Muskego Center located at West 189 South 7761 Racine Avenue, tax key number 2192.971. Looking for a motion.
Move to approve and gross.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Old business for consideration. There is none. New business for consideration. Resolution PC 023-2025, the approval of a conditional use grant for the new Tractor Supply to be located on vacant land between Aurora Health and Dollar Tree, tax key number 2167.995.128.
Move to approve. Second.
Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. This was the item with the public hearing. Like I mentioned, it was just to do allow veterinary services kind of on an as-needed basis at the new Tractor Supply store. This doesn't change anything to their site layout or building design. It's strictly an interior operation.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Do you have any idea what the services are they'd be providing?
I believe they talked about, I think there's something in here. I thought vaccinations.
That was my question as
were
well.
a real common one. Give me 1 second here.
Are they bringing in horses and cows? Probably not.
I did not get that impression from what they stated.
Cattle trucks.
Let's see here.
Is there a limitation to this type of animal?
We normally don't limit that.
That was my
The ordinance doesn't. The ordinance doesn't talk about limitations, and our resolution does not have any limitations. So not that I've specifically heard of. That is something if we wanted to put it in a condition, we could, but they didn't really talk about, from what I recall. Aaron, do you recall seeing anything with what they were gonna? The basics were like vaccinations and real simple stuff like that. Like they're not doing surgeries, they're not doing, anything that would require anesthesia. It's none of that kind of stuff. It's more your kind of quick need type thing on a sporadic basis.
Can we say like limited to small animals? Or, I don't know.
Is there a reason we'd want to, or, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I'm just curious because an open book could imply a lot when it comes to veterinary services.
Correct.
And it would, I don't know how you would define it. I don't know how we would take issue with it unless it was defined.
Okay, so there's a couple.
I'm at a loss as to suggesting this is a bad idea or a good idea.
So they call this Pet Vet, and looking at their website, it lists things like vaccines, flea and tick prevention, testing. So I don't know if that's blood testing, or maybe for heartworm or things like that, microchipping and deworming. And they do talk about different wellness packages, and the packages they offer, at least they show on their site, all relate to either cats, kittens, puppies, or adult dogs.
Small.
They don't show anything, at least on their website, relating to anything that's not cat or dog related. They talk about dog and cat medication, deworming and vaccines. It says say dog grooming and feline fitness. It does not talk anything on their website with the program about larger animals, what that's worth.
So what would prevent them from bringing large cattle there? Nothing. So domestic pets, is that an appropriate statement?
They're not doing this in the parking lot. It'd be.
No, it would be in the building.
So I guess the size of the door would probably be, for
Right.
practical reason.
Well, a double door, but they're a pretty big animal.
But Adam, they've done this at other Tractor Supply.
Yeah, this is something I believe is done at most of the stores from what I've heard.
Okay.
Like I said, it's such a minor part of what they do. It's not like a big thing. It's, I think, just someone that wants to get some of the basics without doing a full-blown veterinarian.
They're doing that at Fleet Farm now too, and it is all small animals, small, dogs, cats. It is limited service, and there's nothing that implies you could bring anything larger than a dog or a cat in.
So they're going to self-manage this process, I'm sure.
Well, I would assume you'd.
Like,
Yeah,
I can't,
they'd have to.
can't picture a horse or cow just walking into the store, walking around the store.
But if they've done it elsewhere, they've obviously had some success and history with it. So, okay.
Yeah, everything on their website, like I said, there's nothing that talks about anything other than cats or dogs.
Okay.
Okay. Chickens.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Resolution PC 025-2025, approval of a policy addressing signage for legal, non-conforming commercial uses.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is kind of a newer one that I guess has kind of come up for the first time in a while that Aaron and I have been dealing with. And we actually have a few properties that are talking to us currently that either have proposed signage or want to propose signage that fall into one of two categories. One of the categories is their legal non-conforming use, means they're in a residentially zoned area currently, but their use is legally allowed to operate, most likely due to like an old approval or past approval. There are some areas, especially when you deal with, I'll use one example of who's talking to us is Coaches on the Lake. Their sign got destroyed by some storm. They want to do a new sign, but they're zoned residential. But it's always been approved as a bar. It's allowed to be a bar. They have their approvals to operate there. It's just, we don't have a lot of these in the city, but there are a couple. I think Aaron and I counted 3 or 4, as well as the other category would be some businesses that are zone residential, but have a conditional use grant that allow them to operate. So they're legally allowed to be there with their conditional use grant, but their base zoning is still residential. So the sign code doesn't allow them any formal signage. And I think one example with that is, like the Muskego Healthcare Center, Muskego Nursing Home, I think they have a new name now. They're looking at doing some signage things, and one of the issues that came up was same thing. Technically, they're residential-based zoning, so they're not technically entitled to signage, but it's hard to say a business that's allowed to be there that you can't have any signage. So what Aaron and I proposed, and we're obviously can talk about this, but we basically said if anyone, any business falls into one of those two categories that are mentioned, we would by default let them follow the B1 signage requirements, which basically says 3% of any wall area can be signage. And any monument signage would start with a base square footage of 10 square feet, and then depending on frontage and some other variables can get a little bit larger. And that would just be a staff level sign permit. And then the other option is if someone business would say, hey, I want to have signage, but that's not enough, I want more, they can apply to the Plan Commission to be allowed to follow what the B2, B3, and B4 districts are. So the bulk of the businesses in the city, which is 5% of wall area and 30 square feet for a starting point for monument signage. So it's basically just giving these existing businesses that we've approved to be there the ability to have signage like other businesses. And the difference would be staff level approval for the B1 type of signage and Plan Commission for anything larger. So that's how the resolution is proposed.
Thoughts, comments, side remarks?
Makes good sense.
Yeah, I think it makes good sense that we're putting the B1 or the B2, B3, B4.
You turn your microphone on.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think it makes sense that, you know, you're kind of applying some of the business ones to those and the kind of legacy sites, so.
All right. What was the example you had of the commercial zoning with the conditional use?
So I think like the Muskego Nursing Home, as it used to be called, the Muskego Healthcare Center, they're residentially zoned, but they have a commercial, they have the CUG allows what's considered nursing home in the ordinance. I think actually the assisted living that's across the street here might be similar to that. The base zoning is residential, but having a nursing home in a residential district is allowed. So that's a scenario like that.
What do CVRFs fall under?
Depends on their bedroom count or bed count.
Say
The ones that are like in neighborhoods are usually 8 beds or less. The city doesn't really regulate those at all. They're governed by the state. I think the state might have some allowance for them on signage, super minimal, like a nameplate or something, but it's really small.
I was just going to ask.
I'm pretty
would this impact
sure.
that?
No, I don't think this would change any of that, because if there's a state law that supersedes this, then that would trump this.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Miscellaneous business, there is none. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6:14.